Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mindset Monday. It is Monday, uh, April 22nd, and this is another wonderful day that we are enjoying on a nice, warm weather wherever you are, or a cool weather wherever you are, or whatever state you are in. I hope you're enjoying at some point. Today, we are on our next episode of In Due Season. And seasons come and seasons go. And I hope that when whatever season you're in, you are making note, you are finding out what are the lessons to be learned, and when you move from that season, you can look back at the experiences that you've gone through while you are in that season, and you'll be able to share with others the things that you have gone through and the things that you have implemented if it's a season that you need to implement some change in your life. As the seasons of the year, spring, that's the season when things are put in place, when things are booming for young people. They are just starting either the baby's walking and picking up stuff, and everyone is excited about what's going on. In the summer, it's when things are planted and you see the nice blooms and everything, and even harvesting. In the fall, in the US and other parts, you'll see the literal um, falling of the foliage, the colors of the foliage, they change different colors. The same way with our life. In the fall of life, it's when things may be going down. In the fall of even our finances, maybe it's dwindling or things have changed. You may have lost jobs and things may not be, you know, the way that you want it to be, but that's what seasons are. Seasons are sometimes predictable. The season of the year, seasons are sometimes unpredictable. Different situations that happen in your life. Seasons are also unpredictable based on the changes that happen sometimes in the atmosphere, different from what is expected. So, but whatever season we are in, we have lessons to be learned. Today, we have a special guest. We have two guests. One that was here last week, Veronica. You were not able to hear a lot of what she had to say because of technical difficulties. Now, thanks to Verizon, they have sorted out my bandwidth, and I am here and you can hear me loud and clear. Hopefully, it stays that way for the duration of this session. But my first guest today will be a beautiful young lady who will be sharing with us a little bit about her seasons and how she adapts. And I will bring her on in a little while. Her name is Andrea Curtis Nelson. Good evening, Andrea. How are you? Hello.
You can't hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, loud and clear. It's great
I
to have you today.
thank you so much. I was saying hello and how are you? I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. And I'm so happy you're able to join us this afternoon. And it's such a pleasure to have such a beautiful, lovely face, energetic. And I would just want you to just share a little bit about who you are with my guest, with my audience, and then we can take it from there.
Okay, well, I like to be light on details, so I'll say what I'll share a little, and if you feel like you need to know more, then I'll let you lead.
Most
Uh,
certain.
I currently live in New Jersey, but I grew up in Chicago, the city of broad shoulders. I mean, it's currently known as the city of gang violence, but its original moniker was the city of broad shoulders, so I like to think of it that way. Even though it is the home of Al Capone, so it has always been a city of gang violence.
Interesting.
So, however, I was born in Jamaica, and that's an integral part of who I am, the immigrant experience. So I
Amen.
always to make that central. But I started living with my father in Chicago when I was a child, and so I grew up there. So my formative years are there, and yeah, I'm the mechanic's daughter.
Yes.
That sounds like a great book title, doesn't it?
And maybe you should chart that course, writing that book. Who knows?
No, I think it has a nice ring, the mechanic's daughter, but
Mechanic's daughter.
actually, I've had a different book title in him about my father in mind for a long time. Haven't done anything about it, but I've had the title, so that's a start, right? The Centurion in My Life is what it will be called. But who knows? Maybe the mechanic's daughter can be part two. Anyway, my father owned a thriving, large, multifaceted auto mechanic business back then. But when I became of legal age, I decided to leave and I got my citizenship, my US citizenship, and I hitched myself to the Navy.
Hmm.
I chose the Navy because they promised to show me the world of the different branches. So I went there and I did see some of the world. I saw a significant portion of the world. And so that was a good experience in that regard. And I became a Navy photographer. And I didn't stay too long though. I didn't retire. I left. I was offered to stay because the photo job category is a small sect, and so they tried to retain me with bonuses and officerships and different things because I was a squared away sailor, as they would say.
Wow.
But I wanted to get out the uniform. I just wanted to wear color in my hair again. I wanted to be on sat. So I left. And I was on my way to college before I was on my way to the military. But because my dad made so much money at the time, I really didn't qualify for scholarships, not full. I had a partial scholarship, but not full. I was an honor student, but he would have had to pay up some money. And I was afraid that, I really didn't know the system. I really didn't understand, and daddy didn't know either. And so I heard rumors that a neighbor of mine, who was actually, he had gone to college and a athletic scholarship, but he was back home sitting down on his front porch. And so I thought if I went ill prepared, the same fate would reach me. And so I was afraid to go without, a full ride. So when I came back out the military, now that was taken care of. They paid for my school because my home state was Chicago, Illinois, and Chicago at the time had one of the best veterans benefits anywhere in the country, the best, I think. And I was on my way back to law school, as a matter of fact. I always saw myself as a great defender, but the market had taken a toll. The legal profession has been taking a beating, and I took a detour, and so now I work in healthcare. So yeah.
Wow. And just to pause there, while you were talking, I noticed there are so many different seasons that you have actually summarized in that short time. That is magnificent. The, and now you are in a different season of your life. I'm just going to revert back to one of the seasons where you talk about your father as a mechanic. And since you're now in this season, you could actually capitalize on that book. Maybe now is the time for you to write the book. Now is the season for you to write the book. You may never know now that you are, maybe thinking about the idea or even expanding the idea. the mechanic's daughter. Who
Hmm.
knows? Different
Yeah.
seasons for different things. So this could be the season of the author, Andrea Curtis Nelson. Whatever the book you're writing, whatever the book you'll publish, maybe now is the time. Who knows? In due season. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Point taken.
So, in every aspect of our life, there are things to learn. And just looking back at the few years that have known you, Andrea, it is so profound that no matter the season we are going through in life, we can still open our minds to knowing new people. I remember the circumstances that we met, and it is so profound that we are now friends after that long time.
Yes, I do remember. I don't know if you want to say anything about the
You can go
circumstance.
ahead. You can. We're talking about due season.
In summary, and I think of I like a biblical scripture that says, "In all labor there is profit," and I just love that. I think it addresses everything about the season that we can talk about. No matter how difficult the season, no matter the circumstance, in all labor there is profit. And so that's something I hold on to and I use as a guiding light. And I think about it even in lieu of reflecting on how we met, because we met because you did an act of kindness, and that is a act of labor. No matter what we do, whenever we're kind, it comes back to us in unexpected ways. And so I actually had gone to Brooklyn to meet a college friend. We went to college in the Midwest. Now we were in different fields, professional fields, but I went there to meet her, and I'm not really a bus taker or train taker, and so I got a little mixed up when I had parked my vehicle somewhere in the Bronx, and I had gone to meet her in Brooklyn and taken all those trains and was coming back to pick up my vehicle in the Bronx and had to drive myself back over the bridge to New Jersey where I live. And I was mixed up on the train. I think I had missed my stop somewhere, and then I asked somebody, and somebody they started to converse, like, about two or three people. They drafted you in the conversation. You were on the train to help me find my way, and you were gracious enough to get off the train with me several stops ahead of your stop, and walked with me and pointed me in the right direction to ensure that I did not get lost again. And I always remember that selfless act of kindness. And here we are now.
That season we were meant to it was divinely orchestrated that we met, and I'm so happy that I'm the person who were was able to direct you in the right direction. And I'm so excited that I'm sharing this part of your life now. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, viewers, you can realize that every season, whether great, whether small or great, there is something to be learned. There are some experiences to be gained in every season of your life. And that particular day, I can remember I was actually going through a challenge because I got bad news that someone died. And I was I was going through that in my head, but I did not share it with you because I did not want to burden you more than how you were burdened trying to get to your car, to get out of the Bronx, to go over the bridge, to go to New Jersey. So I kept that to myself. But just being able to assist you, it alleviated some of the stress of that news that I had received earlier that day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This goes to show that whatever circumstance you find yourself in, and if you can allow yourself to be just redirected, you'll be so surprised how it alleviates the stress. It gives you air to breathe, and you can literally say thank you through all of what transpired. So experiences are here to share. And look, years after, we are talking about it and we're looking at it as act of kindness.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you a few questions. You can share with me some of your, let's see. Now, how do you believe your background, I know you alluded to this before, but how do you believe your background in the military has prepared you for the challenges and opportunities you encounter in the medical field?
Uh, it's funny because I often wrestle with questions in that vein because yes, the military was such an integral part of my life, and you learn many lessons there. And if you are tuned in, you never forget them, right? And you can always utilize. And I think not just for the military, whatever our experiences are, whatever they are, we can always refit them and repurpose them to other circumstances in our life to teach us, to benefit us. But I always like to think that my immigrant experience was more profound in my development than my actual military experience. Because I think, when I went to the military, I was always the type of person that likes to be prepared. I like to, you know, figure out what is required and how to get ahead of it. And I think that experience is actually a migrant experience, an immigrant experience, because you are so used to having to figure it out. You're not expecting a safety net. And every branch is unique for different things. And the Navy, we're known for resourcefulness. When you're in the Navy, they give you a piece of wire and tell you, just like the children in the Old Testament story, how Pharaoh wanted them to build bricks with no straws.
Mhm.
That's what they do to you in the Navy, right? So you learn to think on your feet and you learn to be very resourceful. But I think I had honed that skill before as an immigrant. And you know how they say that somebody wrote a famous book, and it's actually a research project. Everything that who I am right now, who we all are, we learned everything who we are at age 6 in kindergarten. And so I think all of that was developed in me before I went to the military. They got the raw product. They might have, finished it a little bit, but the core was there, right? Because I already had my grit, which is another word for resilience, right?
Mhm.
I already had that built in. It was built in.
Powerful. And just to add to what you're saying, it is so true that our creativity is built at that tender age. That's why it is so important when we see our young kids, they're fiddling with a lot of things. You as the adult shouldn't say that's stupidness or that's throw that away. Why are you fiddling with that? Allow them to express themselves. It's best to say, why are you doing that? uh Explain to me. And they will come and say, oh mom, I'm building a skyscraper, or I'm building a this, or I'm building a house, or I'm building a bridge. Many times the creativity and the the great the great orators or the people who build buildings will tell you that a lot of the skills that were developed from they were children, and their parents were able to maximize on what they have learned and send them to the places that they need to develop. So you are so right. Pay attention to what your children are doing. It will help them to hone the skills that is built in. They will adapt and expand and become notable for whatever they have learned or whatever they have acquired throughout their journey. Thank you so much. Powerful, powerful, powerful. uh can you speak to the importance of timing and patience in the aspects of your life, and how have these qualities shape your approach in work? You alluded to that before in terms of preparation, and this was a part of your life from growing up. So I know this has followed you throughout all your experiences. So can you,
Mhm.
expand on it a little bit more?
Yeah, one of the central creeds that I live by is preparation. I've proven it in my life repeatedly that when I do my due diligence to be prepared for an opportunity, then the opportunity will inevitably show up. I just need to do my part to be prepared, right? And then I'll be able to capitalize on it. It's like they say colloquially, what you do in practice, you'll do in the game. And so if I've been preparing already, when the game shows up, I just have to take my position, right? And so that's how I live my life. Um, I like to stay informed about trends in my industry and in my hobbies likewise, right? I like to be proactive and not take it easy. And I link that to my immigrant experience because and I've proven it has worked for me so many times, right? I remember I'll give an example. Now, not to judge everybody, right? Because people have circumstances and you really, everything is a case by case basis. But I remember when I was in undergrad in Chicago, um, the academia was, I guess, going through changes, right? Maybe at the beginning stages of what it's continued to go through. And so many of those people that worked there were support staff. This at the time, these were not the grad assistants and the tenured professors striking now in universities like they're doing all over the country now. At the time, it were these were the support staff. The people that work in offices and the kitchen aides and etc. Right? But they were the canary in the coal mine. And I remember seeing them march and protest in front of the university with I went to the flagship university of Illinois, the state school, but flagship university. And they had, placards up and they were protesting for their jobs because massive job cuts were coming and they were not prepared. And while they were in that state school, though, there was a benefit of state schools in general throughout the country for the most part. I can't speak, comprehensive for every school, but I know for most state school, it probably shouldn't say all, but this is the thing. They used to get a full ride. The worker and their children and maybe their spouse, right? And if not even a full ride, 80%, but no less than 50% at the time. And I remember seeing those people and I thought to myself, I wonder how many of them were so comfortable in the job and they didn't take opportunity of that free education that they had. And now the job cuts were here and they were not prepared. And they let them protest and walk around a little bit. I mean, how long it could it go on? After a while they're gonna call the police and clear them out
Mhm.
and things are gonna move on. But I always look at circumstances like that and I've always been very uncomfortable not to be caught flat footed. Now, it can happen to anybody because things are always changing. But again, I go back to
Mhm.
saying I think that's a part of, I think when you have the immigrant experience, you're always looking for the next thing to get a leg up the rung of the ladder. And so in my career, I've never waited for somebody to tell me, okay, you need to get this higher level of education, or you need to get this credential and this certificate or this license. I look into it. I see where the trends are going. I research it and I get ahead of it because I like to, control my own destiny to whatever extent that I can. I find
Mhm.
it an act of empowerment to do so. And then when I see the trend going in a certain direction, like if layoffs are coming or they're threatening, or even the department is being run now like I don't like, then I decide, you know what, I'm going to drop this mic and pivot because I would have prepared and given myself the necessary tools to do so. And so, but when people are trapped because they didn't get the education, the license, the certificate, whatever, then they have to wait. They're like sitting ducks waiting for the slaughter. Anything that happens, they can't do anything but go and protest. And I don't have time for that. And so, again, I think I lean on, before my military experience, my preparation with the immigrant mindset. But then the military also, because you always have to be prepared for the unexpected. And that's how I've lived and navigated my career.
Awesome. The preparedness mindset. Uh, the saying said opportunity meets preparedness. And as you were deliberating, I just looking at where we are now with AI expanding, and it's important that we look at the seasons we're in and see how can we retool, what areas can we increase our learning. So if AI comes and take my job, where can I go, how can I increase my productivity, that I can be ahead of the game and be a part of this whole process, this whole evolution, because learning is always progressing. It is so important that we pay attention, be prepared, and as Lady Andrea said, how to pivot. It's time to expand, to open our eyes, to be aware of what is happening. So, the seasons, when the seasons change, we will be prepared enough to operate in whatever way we can prepare. Some things we can prepare for, but we are aware of what's going on, and so we can make changes as best as possible. Let me jump on to YouTube to see if there any questions or any comments that my viewers would want to share with you, Lady Andrea. This is powerful in due season. Marlene says, "Hi Camille, I know you from Jamaica. I was living with my auntie and my two nephews, Davon, Courtney Golden, back in the days. Blessings to you, sister." Hi Marlene, I'm happy you're able to join us. Thank you. Deep Dive Globally Changing Life says, "What a selfless season, given and accepted. Wonderful." Anita Lewis says, "Indeed, in due season, powerful, changing with the times," which is definitely powerful. And just to wrap up this session, what's the one thing, one statement you could leave with our viewers, just to summarize everything?
Um, I think two things that will serve that have served me well, and that will, be beneficial to most people, is to be true to yourself, right? You cannot fight in anybody else's armor. Remember when David was to meet Goliath, and Saul tried to give him his armor and his sword, and David gave it back to him and said, I haven't proven these. So let me stick with the slingshot that I know. And so I say that to say, be true. Everybody needs to be true to their guts, their calling, what they're comfortable in, their armor, and that will lead you to where you need to be. And be prepared though. Lean into preparation and be consistent. Those two things, preparation and consistency, will always pay rewards, will always give dividends. And so I think that's what I'd say.
Powerful, powerful. Be prepared and be consistent when you're prepared, because prepared opportunity meets preparedness. Once you're prepared, opportunities will come right to you, or you go where the opportunities are. And being consistent, that's what pays dividends. Andrea, it is so fitting this evening on this Mindset Monday episode where we are looking at the seasons we have gone through, we're looking at the season we're in, and we are preparing for the next season as best as possible. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, and we look forward to hearing from you again. Once again, it's my pleasure to have you on this episode of Mindset Monday.
Thank you so much, Miriam. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure that your audiences will grow and people will benefit, and the engagement will grow. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. So now I'm going to have my next guest, and she was here last week. She was sharing the different changes that occur in her life and how she was able to manage through those different changes and how she was able to balance the different seasons. And it is it is always a pleasure to have different persons share their different experiences and be able to learn from them, whether it's family, whether it's friend, whether it's co-worker, or as Andrea shared, someone you met, you're able to learn from these experiences because we humans are community beings. No man is an island. The song says no man stands alone. And we are here to complement each other in whatever area we find ourselves. None of us are the same. We are all human beings, but none of us are the same. We are unique in our personhood. We are able to share our experiences. We're able to give of ourselves and complementing each other. We were created to operate in an era of gifting, and whatever era of gifting that we work in, one has something that the other needs, and so comes the complement, the connection. So that's why this world, we should not be lacking resources because all of us are resourceful. But are we finding the season we're in? Are we coming to grips with what we're here for? Are we capitalizing on the experiences that we've gone through? And are we learning and sharing that others can grow as we grow while we go through the seasons? It all boils down to the mindset. What is your mindset? What is the season that you are walking through? Are you still holding on to the season that has ended and being stuck? And God is saying, why don't you move? I shift things that you can see what's going on and you're not doing anything. But let's become aware. Let's heighten our awareness that we can be of benefit to this world because this world is waiting on us to showcase what we have that they can benefit from what's going on. Just jumping over to the YouTube chat, Elette McNeil says, we have to change for ourselves. Yes, sister, mommy Elette. Anita Lewis said, thank you, Andrea. God bless you. The contributions that you have given, Andrea, they are loving on it. And it is will definitely help others to thrive. And there's a call coming in. They want to give their contribution, but they're not able to type it. So I'm just gonna answer this call. Now, so the seasons of life comes to some people throw you off your feet, but no, that's not what it is here for. The seasons of life comes to center us. The seasons of life come to share or open our eyes to the experiences because we're not static. We are always moving. As the saying, we are evolving. We are moving consistently, just as the growth process from a child. You literally see the child creeping, they stand up, you see them jump. And of course, although I am very short, but I wasn't all like this when I was growing up. I grow gradually, and therefore we are able to see and understand and experience the different changes. But if we're not aware, we will go through life blinded, and things will pounce on us that can we could have changed, but because we were not aware, the seasons of life pass us by. Because mark you, whether you are stagnant or you are moving, seasons change just the same. So, not because you are not moving doesn't mean that things aren't changing around you. So, let's become a part of what is happening, be aware of what is happening, that we can change and grow and mature into the best, better version of ourselves that God has created us to operate in. Seasons, seasons of our life. Going back to the YouTube chat until Veronica comes on. I know where she's now, there may be a little challenge. So I'm just gonna check the chat until others come. Laura Perez says, I like what you talk about, being prepared for what life offers you by being consistent. Yes, consistency. And consistency doesn't have to be a huge step, just every little step. If you think of it like the little baby, they make the little step, they fall, they grab onto things, but they make consistent steps. Sometimes we see them fall and we run to grab them up, but sometimes just leave them. They will look around and then they will crawl again and then they'll get up and then they'll do their thing, and gradually they need no assistance to move. So I'm going to bring on my sister, Veronica Powell, as she shares just authentically. Last week you weren't able to hear her. Veronica, welcome. I'm so happy that we can see you and we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you.
Viewers, you see her beautiful smile. That's my sister. All right. And last week you were giving us a little bit of, I'm not sure where you're going now. You were giving us a little bit of who you are and what you have achieved over the years. And the viewers were not able to hear because I went back to listen to watch last week's account, and I realized Verizon really gave me a raw deal, but they made it up to me today, and I'm able to see you. Viewers are able to listen in and see what's going on. So I'm happy that you're here again.
Yes, good evening, sis, and good evening, viewers. Good to be back. Yes, go ahead, Miriam.
Yes, you were sharing with us about your experiences and the seasons of your life. And you started from where you grew up because you did not grow up with mom and dad, and what you experienced and how that has helped to shape you into the woman you are, the tenacious, resilient woman you are. So you could just give us a synopsis of that and then we could take it from there.
Okay, last week I shared about my childhood in a growing up in a what you'd call a country area in Jamaica. Grew up without, well, I grew up with good water supplies, but did not grow up with electricity. So I had to use like shade lamp, and sometimes Jamaicans would call it buckle torch or tinning lamp. Those were the lights I used as a child growing up. Had to walk a good walk to school, sometimes even barefooted. Had to go home at lunchtime for lunch, which was cooked food, and the same thing would we have to share for lunch and dinner. And the aunt I grew up with, which was my adopted mother, it wasn't like adoption like now, a family member, but we might just say, okay, let me take this child and raise this child for you. So that was how the adoption was done in those days. So that's how I came to live with my aunt. Well, her liberty was she goes to the market to sell stuff. So I had to be one of the burden bearers to carry the load, go wherever to collect it, and to go to the market. As I grew up older, sometimes I also had to go with her to the market, which as a young girl growing up, to me, that wasn't it wasn't pleasant. I was jeered at school some of the time about it, being called a market woman. So I purpose in my life that for me that wouldn't be not be one of my career growing up. So I didn't see where it would was prosperous because to me I didn't see the benefit that she would derive from it. So I purpose to try to do better. However, um not monetary wise growing up, it wasn't there for me to get the proper education. And sometimes words were said towards me, which kind of have me growing up in a depressive mode. Um, I wasn't motivated. I was told I wouldn't come out to anything at the time, and I guess it embedded in my mind, in my psyche. So I didn't have the drive to push forward. So I battled during primary school, unachieving at the top, but in the latter part when I was in grade 9, ending up past grade 9 achievement, went to high school, still wasn't easy. Went to high school for 3 years, still didn't achieve any subjects, still feeling down. Not sure where my life was going. I didn't see anything pretty. My life was like a blank piece of paper. So I continued through life for that until about in my 20s. Um, and my life took a turn after I became pregnant and became a mother. So I put all my energy into being the best mom, take care of my kids because I didn't want to like have somebody to raise my child and go my child would go to that same experience that I went through. So I put all of my energy in that to be the best mother I could. And the father of my child turned to children, turned to husband later on. So I had good support. I have four boys. They are now grown. The youngest one he will be 21 this year, October. And I can look back and I say, God is good. Was married for over 20 odd years, 24 years to be exact. And then my husband went to do a surgery. Unfortunately, during that surgery, it didn't went well. He ended up in a coma for 4 years and 6 months. I had to travel to visit him and till he passed in 2020. And in the midst of all of that, I also overcame breast cancer. Diagnosed 2008, did surgery, did chemo, radiation, all of that. So I've had ups and downs, but right now I'm giving God thanks for where I am. My children are all grown. They're all successful people right now, except for the big one. I have a challenge with him. He has a mental issue, which that's another challenge that I went through. I didn't understand when it happened at first how to deal with it. It's a roller coaster ride, dealing with the emotions, the high and the lows, and um, sometimes having big quarrels because I didn't understand it was an illness. I thought he was just being disrespectful when he was off and whatever. But after researching and listening to programs, and had to go through the different counselings, um, to the UE Hospital, Bellevue Hospital. I know he's assigned like to clinic in the area to get treatment, so he's more manageable now. So all of that I've gone through and I'm still standing. I'm also a member of the Linstead Pentecostal Tabernacle, and the church has been my strong point. I didn't have to see counseling with all of that I've gone through. But the messages, the Bible studies, Sunday school programs, and everything I got at church, and I use them for my personal counseling and for my foundation of building. So when I look back now, first I my life was like a blank paper. And as I said last week, now I look at it as a pretty puzzle because I use all those pieces and fit them in at the correct places. And I can look at my life now and say it's a beautiful picture. And I just give God thanks for all of that. I
Wow.
look back on my life and I said, I grew up in church, and I said that was my strong point. All of the things that could have thrown me off course, but I look back and I said, God was with me from then, and I may have feel like I didn't achieve, but now I look at myself and I said, yes, I did achieve a lot in life.
And I have to stop you right there because it is so it is so empowering. Uh, just remembering that we you sat down with me when I came to Jamaica in May of last year, and you share with me all the accounts, because although we're siblings, we grew up in two different homes, so we experienced two different things. And it's just now we're adults, and every time we meet, a little bit more is shared. But
Yeah,
the different experiences that she has gone through, Elise has gone through, one aspect of it which she has shared with me that has helped me immensely going through the experience I'm now going through. While I was there with her in May, when I went to our bishop's wife's funeral, Lady Norris Otter's funeral, she shared with me how she coped, how she managed, and systematically, as if she was, when you set an exam and you're given different pointers, and it's within that I realized, as she rightly said, when she came to the US and we sat down and we were just reminiscing, she's reminding me, she said, I did not realize I was preparing you for the season that you'll be walking through. Might I say, systematically, as if point by point. She said, little, and this happened, and then I did this, and then this, and then this. And it has come to be so valuable. When my husband passed away, my husband passed away December 23rd. And she has helped me among all other persons, but just her direct connection with what I would be going through. She did not know. I did not know. Only God knows
yeah,
that He was preparing me through her to go through this season of my life. So, the mindset we have and the mindset we develop, whatever the circumstances, whatever the experiences that we go through, this can help to shape how we deal with things, because it's not what happened, but it's how we're able to deal with these experiences, the support system we have, and the people who are there to comfort us as we go through. As I alluded to earlier, we are community beings. We are here to complement each other, not to cause conflict or to compete. Competition is, in the wrong sense, is like pulling away, but we are here to complement each other as we operate in the area of gifting that we were created to walk in. We're able to be of benefit to humanity rather than competing with each other, pulling each other instead of lifting up each other. We're here to lift up humanity in the smallest thing, as siblings, as community beings, as co workers. That's what we're here for. And once we stay in that vein, I know crime, violence, and all of even wars would stop, because if we are complementing and if we are operating in the area of gifting, I am sure love will find a way, because I want to complement what you are doing, and that's how we form a synergy. I know you were trying to share your poem with us last week, and because of our technology problem, we weren't able to hear you. So we would love to hear what you have to share with that poem and the reasoning behind you sharing that poem.
Okay, the poem I wrote was after my mom passed, trying to understand because she was so sick and was like throwing up, and I cried out, I pray, I say, God, my mom is such a good mom. I am just getting to know her, but she's so sick. And I've known her to be a child of God, or as we would say, a Christian. And God, if you're not gonna heal her, please just take her. I don't want to see her suffer like this. And that was like the Wednesday, and it was like the Friday my mom passed. I was there trying to comfort her while she passed. And after that, going through the funeral and everything, and I looked back and I said, with all of that, I didn't cry. And then the words started to come to me, and I wrote a poem and I titled it My Friend Death, because I look on death as a friend then, because my mom was no longer in pain. She was at peace. So it was like a friend came to her rescue. But then when I gave one of my nieces to read, and she said, "Oh, Auntie, this is so deep." And I said, I look back and I said, I wonder if people would think I'm going loco to think of death as a friend, because I always hear people say, "Oh, the enemy death." And I think back and I said, how could I rephrase it? And then I remember that I was praying. And when you pray to God, you are looking for an answer. So I rephrase it and I put the answer death.
Hmm.
So um, I wrote, I said, sickness is a come and go, like a river, ebbs and flow. When this happened to my dear mother, I cried out to my heavenly Father. The medicines, they just weren't helping, but I just kept on praying. And when she died, I didn't cry. I didn't ask God why, but I just sighed and said, yes, He did reply. You know, my heart was heavy, but no tears were coming, so my eyes were dried. But I could have said, God did reply. That was an answer to my prayer. That is final. There's no more pain. And because of that, I've come to a point in my life where I'm not afraid of death. I feel hurt when people die, especially tragically. But like when someone is terminally ill and going through you see their body deteriorating and is your loved one, especially like when they are shrinking down to like skin and bones,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to see them that way. So and I look at it and I say, God, I thank you. And I just feel this thing to say to people that if your family is ill and you are praying, as Christians, we may say, through faith we pray and God hears and answer. And people may say, then I pray for healing and the person die, and it might shatter your faith in God. Some people backslide because of that, because they were so passionate, fasting and praying for healing, to see the person come back, to see the loved one come back, and then they die. And I look back on it and said, we have to look on it in another way. We do say, whatever God does, it well done.
Mm-hmm.
So when our loved one pass, we should still look on it that way, to say whatever God does, it is well done, and accept death as a finality that only God can bring. Only God. He gives life and He takes life. And we have to reach that place, especially as believers in God, and to know that we still believe that He's still that loving, merciful, caring God, even though our loved one pass. And to keep on, be there to encourage, to embrace, to comfort others as they go. That is a part of our journey here on earth.
Season.
It is a season, and
Yeah,
this too will pass.
that's true. As Ecclesiastes, is it 3? Says,
Yes.
to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under the heavens. So as we see our kids, as we see birth, and we are so ecstatic, we're excited. Oh, guess who have a baby? And we're so excited. And then the growth, the graduation, and then the marriage. Oh my God! Guess who? My son is graduating. My daughter is graduating, and then guess what? My son is getting married. My daughter is getting married, and the excitement. But then when sickness comes, none of us are looking for it, and 99% of the time it's beyond what we could beyond what we could do or prevent. But this too is a season of life and is part of the experience of life. So, as we develop the mindset to understand that every season comes with different experiences, and every experience is a time to learn, to grow, to understand. And growing doesn't mean that the person is not going to die, but growing in the sense that, yes, it is what it is. It happens. And how can I learn? How can I grow? How can I help someone through this challenge? My sister grew through the death of her husband. And that's how she was able to share with me. She was able to stand on that story instead of wallowing in it. It takes time. And
Yes, it
all of us go through grief in different phases, different stages. Although her husband passed since 2020, she's still going through grief, but it's a different phase of grief.
is.
And so she's able to encourage someone else. I am going through grief. I've gone from the shock to the acceptance. And sometimes I wallow in tears and bawl, the long nose knot and everything. And but it takes time, phases, stages. But whatever season we are in, let us find the lessons. Let us learn. Let us understand. And then we'll be able to share. Because remember, we're community beings. We learn, grow, and share. So on this day, it's important that we see, share, understand, and just enjoy life, whatever experience that we go through. I'm just going to run through the YouTube chat and see what's going on. Anne Marie Wallace says, "Good evening, Sister Powell." Um,
To
she said, "Wow, the devil is a liar. Sis, look at you now. Look at God." She said, "But God."
yes,
Then
it.
it said, she said, "It's a reading book now, sis, with a lot of pretty pictures."
Yes.
And what is telling this is telling you that the book you wrote, you need to publish it, and I'll help you with that.
Okay.
Anita Lewis says, "Great encouragement for people that's going through their season." It is so important that we understand whether it's a tiny bit or a huge experience. God has provided us this opportunity. He has taken us through the different phases of life that we can encourage someone else who is going through the seasons we just passed or is going through the seasons we're now in. Be encouraged that whatever season you're in, that the mindset you have, God did not bring these seasons, or these seasons did not appear to mold you over, to destroy you, but it's to build muscles, whether mentally or physically. It's to build muscles and to help someone else who will be walking through. Because as the psalmist David says, "Yea, though I walk through," it means that you will not stay in that valley,
Go through it.
but you are going through, because you have to pass through the valley in order to go on the mountain, right? And
Yes.
none of us will ever stay on the mountain at all times. That's why life is seasonal. You have the highs, whether it's financially, spiritually, physically, and you have the lows in every season of life. So on this Monday, April 22nd, enjoy this episode of Mindset Monday and realize that we are going through seasons. And whatever season you're in, pay attention and allow God to direct your life, that you'll be able to share the experiences you have gone through. Until next time, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will see when something else appears. Thank you for listening. Give me your thoughts and have a wonderful week.
Is it?